Okay, welcome to another edition of ORA News Flash, ORA USA History Documentary. Today we are going to have in our midst the third president of ORA USA, in the person of Chief Chris Onwuzurike Akanchawa, to talk to us. We have earlier talked to his two predecessors, and we want to continue the discussion with him today. With me to talk with him is our current national secretary, Mazi Austin Ofoha. As you all know, my name is Deacon Charles Anomodo, the former National Secretary of ORA USA. Mazi Austin Ofoha, can you say hi to our viewers before we introduce Sir Chris Onwuzurike?
Hello, viewers. Welcome to today's edition of ORA USA News Flash History Documentation. I promise it's going to be a wonderful ride. You just sit there, listen attentively. We've got as our guest an erudite past president who is well informed about the history of ORA USA. So no doubt you're going to learn a whole lot today about the origin and the history of ORA USA. Welcome to the program. As already introduced, my name is Mazi Austin Ofoha. Thank you.
Okay, can Chief Chris Onwuzurike say hi to our viewers before we ask the first question? So, Chris.
Hello, viewers. Again, as stated, my name is Chief Chris Onwuzurike. I'm Emeritus President of ORA USA and a patron also of ORA USA. I'm very delighted to be here to chat with you guys today.
Thank you, Mr. President. As stated before, we have talked to the first president, Chief Gibson Chibu, and the second president, Chief Emeka Iwunze, and they have briefed us on their roles in the early years of ORA USA. Being the third president, you must have been there during those years. So we want to start by asking you what you recollect as the true history of the early years of ORA USA. How did ORA USA come about? At what point did you join ORA USA? And what role did you play in those formative years that brought ORA USA as a formidable diaspora organization of Igbo people?
Thank you. I hope I can remember all of this, but my involvement with ORA USA came about at the time when I was the president of Old Olo Ezinwane Association. And by the way, I was also the second founding president of Old Olo Ezinwane. This is after 4 years of the previous president, after 5 years really, that I came in. So I became aware of ORA USA activities at the time when I was approached by some individuals in Dallas regarding some kind of gathering or summit or whatever that was supposed to take place in Dallas. And I was, at the time, I was working with Dr. Acho Arabuchi, who was one of the organizers, to come to Dallas so that ORA USA will be revamped again. Then the week, or I would say probably the eve of that weekend, when we were supposed to come to Dallas, the news came about that things are not well in Dallas. Apparently, due to the reorganization and the former president, the former person that was there supposed to be removed or was removed. A lot of there was a committee. There was a caretaker committee was supposed to come together to help talk about how to get ORA going again. So I canceled my flight because of family issues, and coupled with the fact that I was told that it may not be a fruitful gathering. So I missed that, and at that point, the planning for, and I think it was at that gathering that they forged the agenda and the plan on how to convene a convention in Atlanta. So Atlanta was my first official, appearance at ORA USA event. 2000, what was it? I forgot that year. In Atlanta, we gathered.
2001.
I think it was 2000, I believe.
2001.
Is it 2001? Yeah, 2001. Yeah, because subsequently we went to Los Angeles in 2002. So
no,
2001.
Chicago was 2002.
That's right, Chicago and then Los Angeles. So I was there as a delegate, and coincidentally, I was also an outgoing president of AZ1 at the time. So I brought in my current president with me to both of us were the delegates to the convention. And when we came to the convention in Atlanta, we were threatened because some of us were more like single state affiliates, Michigan. We represent the whole Michigan. And when we came to that event, we felt threatened by the activities of the delegates from the state of Texas, considering that the state of Texas brought in about 3 affiliates. Then you had Dallas, you have Houston, then you have Austin. So we felt threatened, and then it was at that convention, the conversation was about putting the constitution together, deciding the number of delegates. It was a very chaotic situation because the delegates from Dallas, from Atlanta, from Texas, were pushing for numeric strength. Then those of us from single states were saying delegates will be based on states. And then when these other states, when they go back, like Dallas, like Texas, they can then double out their delegates. So we wanted to, that was when my involvement started. We were debating vigorously on the floor. And then at that point, I formed some alliance. And I was a major proponent of having a number of delegates assigned to a state in lieu of the various affiliates that come from the various states. So at that point, I formed an alliance with Chicago, with Boston, with New York, and all of us were singing the same song of state, delegate, affiliation based on states. So eventually, I think I played a role where we walked out of the convention and said, well, since you guys know, because they seem to have their mind made up, and in the way of writing the constitution, which I'm glad the way it turned out now. But at the end of the day, we walked out, and then we were begged to come back into the hall. We came back, and discussions. We moved to a different aspect of the constitution and left that area alone. We were told, let's revisit this in the morning. But let's move on with other activities. So it's so funny, and it's so funny that a time was agreed upon for when we will convene the following morning. we've agreed. So when the following morning came, apparently we agreed at 8 o'clock or 8:30 or something like that. So some of us who left the hotel, we came down there by 8 o'clock. The individuals and the delegates from Texas, they've already talked behind the scene among themselves, and they congregated an hour earlier than those of us that were in opposition. So when the time we came there, the meeting is already in progress. We're like, okay, what are we? As soon as we started, they said, sit down. We've already finished that. Let's move on. So I cannot forget that. So we moved on. And then that's how we adopted the Constitution. I remember on the floor, I had somebody from my place. I didn't know him, Godwin Iheboro. It was also one of the ex-presidents of Dallas affiliates. It was there. I was on the floor. He was on the floor. We were going at each other. And it was during the intense moment of this dialogue that we both realized that, hey, we both are from Abba. Are you serious? Oh, my God. So that was... I can't forget that. That was really my experience then. So that's how I got involved. Then also, on the same morning, election was to be held. I was working with the gentleman from, that's how I met George Kamnu. He was representing New York. What's his name, from Chicago? That was guy, I forgot his name. The then vice president.
Is it Val Ogike?
No.
Is it Nawihe?
Not in Nawihe. The guy no longer, he left from Nigeria, was from Chicago.
Okay.
I forgot, it was the vice president to Gibson.
Okay, yes, Onyedebelo.
Onyedebelo.
Okay.
Ben Onyedebelo. So we formed alliance, and that's how I met him in Chicago. So when it was time for election, even I met Chibu at that time. That was my first time meeting the Gibson Chibu. He came to me, he wanted to talk about, hey, I need my support. And my first question to him was, are you going to support this state delegate appropriation thing that we are pushing? So that's how the origin of this, thing started. Then during the election, between Joe Nzepueme from Boston, Ben Onyedebolo, myself, so the alliance that we had, they told me, so well, since this situation is going the way it's going, we're going to support you, we want you, they wanted me to be the vice president. And I told them, I said, hell no. Even I had an accord with my wife as the outgoing president of Eziwanne. And, we still having little children at that time. My first son, these kids were just, I'm carrying kids and the baby stopped going to meeting. So my wife told me, once, since you are just leaving the office of Eziwanne presidency and you go into this other thing, promise me when you go there, you are not coming back with the position. I said, yes, honey, I won't. So when these individuals were telling me they want to be, I said, I'm not. I made a commitment. I can't take anything back. I'll support a new guy. That's when Ben stepped up and said, okay, he will be. We said, okay, we'll support you for VP. So it was at that point we went into the election. We pushed Ben. Ben became the VP. And then on that spot, as delegates, nobody was interested in taking the position of the secretary. So we're looking around, none of the delegates were interested. So, and there was Emeka Onwuzurike, but he's not a delegate, but he's in the room. So we had to move a motion to suspend that aspect of an individual not being a delegate to be elected. Once we suppress that, we then put Emeka Onwuzurike as the secretary then. So these were things that happened in Chicago. Then one of the highlights also in Chicago was
He was in
convention.
Chicago or Atlanta?
In Atlanta, I'm sorry. One of
Okay.
the highlights also, thank you for correcting me. One of the highlights also was, it was then that we supported a Chicago convention. We worked with Ben. Ben said they want it and all of that. So we pushed for the next convention to be held in Chicago. So these were my early involvements that I could remember. So just to answer your question, thank you for that.
Okay, just a follow-up and clarification before I invite Austin to ask. You mentioned some people that you met in ORAUSA who happened also to be from your town, and you didn't know them before. Yes. One of the previous your predecessors also mentioned that you met Chief Jeff Uju in ORAUSA. I want you to confirm or dispute that. So before we continue,
it is true.
Okay.
I met Jeff through ORAUSA, and what happened was too is the Chicago, when time for Chicago convention came, I believe I had a death in the family. I traveled, so I missed. That's the only convention, apart from when I lost my son, the only convention I have missed in ORAUSA. So I missed that convention. So after the convention, everybody was saying, "Hey, there's this Abba guy, in Chicago that this so and so. You are from Abba?" I said, "I don't know the guy." So it was when we get to Los Angeles, but before then we started talking. We finally met live, face to face, the first time at Los Angeles convention.
Wow.
Awesome.
Nobody can imagine that you met him yesterday. We thought he's your brother.
He's my brother, man. His village is my walking distance, but we didn't know each other before we came here.
That's one of the benefits of ORAUSA. You meet your brother you never knew before.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Master Austin, do you have any question for Chief Chris Onwuzurike?
Yes, I do have a question, but before my question, I wanted him to clarify something. You said at the first convention in Atlanta, there was no candidate for the position of secretary. Just was wondering, wasn't Chris Onwuzurike in the running before then? What happened that there seemed to be a vacance?
Chris Onwuzurike was the secretary of the caretaker committee coming in that was assembled that helped put this convention together. And the intent, he was being looked upon, I think at the time too, he was also coming up as either a former president of Atlanta Union. He was also being looked upon as someone that would be interested in running for the position, if not the president, but the secretary. But apparently, when the Gibson Chibu was being drafted, I think it might have affected Chris Onwuzuruke's interest in either of the positions.
Thank you. Thank you, my patron. I like your choice of words. You are indeed a diplomat. You don't like to ruffle feathers. But that's fine.
Are you serious?
I like your choice of words. Well, I'm going to ask you where and when you were elected president of ORAUSA.
Ooh. I believe it was 2009 in Dallas, in a Dallas convention. I was coming in as the outgoing vice president, also the OCOC chair to that convention. Yes, 2009.
Tell us a little bit about events leading to your election. Was it such a smooth sail?
It wasn't a smooth sail, but it was a needed. Everything that happened that brought about my presidency and my regime and my administration was a worthy event, worthy activity, and I think it was one of those things where sacrifices were made for the good of ORAUSA. A lot took place, and I saw myself sacrificing myself, my life, my family, fighting for what I believe that at the end will turn out for the best interest of ORAUSA. So what happened basically was, as the sitting vice president, it was during the second year of my vice presidency that the union went back and changed the constitution to make the VP to be in charge of OCOC. As the vice president, then working under my president then, Chief Onwuzurike, the committee that was looking at the convention, when they saw the qualities I brought, they thought that things need to be harnessed to whereby a vice president should be given tangible role to play. At the time, I think during our first administration, the PRO then was war PRO, Chris Onwuzurike. He was running he ran the first convention that we did. And then at that point, the convention, the constitution was changed and the mandate was given to me as a VP to continue to run the OCOC. And that mandate kind of helped me out in a way. We started to create new templates regarding how OCOC need to be. Prior to my coming in and prior to other conventions, I noticed things were not going well with the brochures. And that was one of the areas that I tried to address, but I'll talk about this later. But we'll talk about the interest of things that transpired to becoming the president of ORAUSA in 2009. I have already built up relationship. I have already displayed the ability to lead, the capacity to hold the position, and I have already played a pivotal role in recruiting new affiliates, maintaining relationships with affiliates and the national. So when it was time for the election, I declared I needed to run for the office. And there were other individuals also who had expressed interest, but discussions were held behind the scene that, you know what, with that, this guy being the VP, he has shown that he can handle it. So some of the other contestants were also encouraged. So, hey, you can run, but this guy, we have seen his ability, we have seen his talents, we have seen what he can do. And it seemed like someone, as a VP, is someone that we believe is capable of being a president, and doing the duties associated with that. So coming into Dallas, I've already done some very good campaigning. Being a VP of for the last 4 years to that, I've already done my homework. I knew where the porosities of ORAUSA are, where the weaknesses are. Also, being a system person, also knew, I saw the opportunities, the limitless opportunities, the way ORA could be. And I noticed that the foundations, I know that I saw all of those. I saw all the porous and all the things that need to be done. So I conceived all of those in my election campaign to run for office. And I talked to a lot of affiliate presidents, and told them this is where we want to, or I need to be. This is where I want to take you guys. And they all signed on. You know, most of them signed on and believed and agreed that we can do it. So when we got to Dallas, you know, the campaign started to get very intense to the point that some of the delegates that had promised me their votes, as people were taking, you know, they were some people had a suites in the Dallas convention, which I was busy running the convention, but they were told that some individuals were brought into a suite and said, if you're hungry, come to this suite. When you are there to eat, they say, hey, if you're eating this food, make sure, you know, you swear you're gonna be doing this or that. So I'm just, you know, it's just, I'm just sharing these are some of the intrigues that took place. But the bottom line is during election period, it got so intense. It got so intense that in the hall where we were voting, where we were supposed to hold our election, the election has started, and there was so much commotion in the hall, and our time limit for the hall was coming pretty much to an end. And you know, when you're into elections, you know, you have supporters, and some are very ardent supporters, some are very ferocious, and so tempers are going to go up and down. So at the end of the day, we were voting, and by the time we finished voting, the commotion got so much that we were kicked out of the room, the banquet hall. So, and thank God to the leadership of patrons who were there then. Our patrons from Nigeria, they were in the hall. The then board chairman was there. Our founding president was there. They all took control of this and took the whole ballot papers.
Sorry to interrupt you, Akanchawa.
Yes.
It would help if you remember some of these names I mentioned, like you said,
yeah.
patron from Nigeria.
The patron,
you want to capture them in this documentary.
Please, Chief Gigi Nyeka and Achike Udenwa, those were present. Then I wasn't sure if our Professor Amoka was there then. I wasn't sure if he was there then, but you know, so then our then board chairman Nze Edunebu and Nze Chief Gibson Akaraka. So they all took control of the ballot papers that were already, you know, has already been voted in the hall, and took them to some suites upstairs. I think it was Chief Akaraka's suites or so. And then they brought in the campaign manager for myself, and the campaign manager for Chief Ugo Onyemobi, whom were running together on the slate. So
and Onyemobi comes from Dallas, right?
No, he comes from Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it was there, they counted the ballots. And people were saying, gallivanting around the hall, waiting to know what's going to happen. But meanwhile, we have lost access to the hall because we've been kicked out. So it was at that point when they finished counting and everything, and all of them that were in that room, they signed to make sure, since the general public wasn't there, all of them, they all signed the documents, the counting and all of that. So then they came downstairs and called us, and the only open space we had to announce the results was at the parking deck. So we all went to the parking deck. That's where they announced the results. And at that point, I was declared the winner. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much, you know, the commotion that that happened to the presidency. I say it was very interesting, but the emotions were so high, and that's why it's all, you know, it's even the intensity of the campaign for that office. I think I can't even compare it to being the governor of Imo State. It was high.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also remember that I was in Dallas in that convention, and I witnessed all that you have said, and I agree that that's what happened. What I didn't witness was the parking lot announcement.
You must have left home early.
I really left. I drove to see my cousin who lives in the suburbs of Dallas. I thought it was a 30-minute journey. It turned out to be a 2-hour journey. So before I could come back, they told me you have been declared winner. And I recall that that election was the biggest test ORAUSA had. And having survived it, it helped to strengthen ORAUSA for the years ahead. That time we were still like toddlers trying to learn how to walk. And when we survived it, we were able to run.
Yes.
So thank you for your service. So to the next question, we'll now go into your administration. I know you worked with some people in your administration. Can you recall the major players of your administration and how they helped to make your administration achieve the successes it did?
Oh yeah, I remember at that election, the results after the election, I became the president, and Fidelis Ezewike was the vice president. Madam Christine Wiwu was the secretary, and Chief George Akuna was assistant secretary. Nze Philip Obilom, financial secretary. Chief Chidi Nwameme was the treasurer, and Carl Ogbonna was the PRO, and Chimeze Duru was the parliamentarian. So those were the people in my administration. And then it was also at that period also that we were able to assemble a new board. Prior to my coming into office, we've had a board of directors, advisory board of directors that have served for 6 years, going into 7 years in office, and almost became a problem to running, to the executives, because the then board we are running a parallel administration. For example, if every committee we have in the executive, they want to have the same thing, and their job was just investigation, and there was stagnation. And I give credit to our founding president, then the first president. Each of the presidents, there were things they did very good at their era when they came in. I think it took a strong guy like Gibson Chibu to withstood the level of pressure and pushback that came from and their whatever the sharing of power mindsets that the then board had, and it had to be somebody as strong as him to have been able to withstood the challenges that are associated with that. And then it was good. I was also lucky. During Chief Emeka Nwuzurike's tenure, he was able to help summon a summit, a constitutional summit. And it was during that constitutional summit in Dallas that we were able to revisit the issue of the board versus advisory board, because there was a little conflict in the existing constitution where the board then, it was defined that they have the power for global policy. And they took that to different heights, believing that they have the power to do a lot. So when we went to that constitutional summit in Dallas, we were able to focus in delineating the role of the board. And to that effect, we made it an advisory board. And that's why even when you look at today's or a USA Constitution, over, I would say 40% of the pages of that Constitution talks about the board. And that was also intentional, because this was what we had to do to tame down and then to allow progress, to take place in ORA USA.
Okay, thank you. Mazi Austin, do you have any question for him?
Not really.
Okay, if not, I can go ahead with the next question.
Yes.
So Chief Chris Onwuzurike, what were the challenges of your administration and how were you able to overcome them? I remember some of them, if you can mention them, if I can give you some clues. Then the conventions were held. I attended my first convention in 2008. It was in a small motel, like Motel 6. And then we grew to having it in Marriott. It must have taken somebody with willpower to do it. So how did you overcome those challenges? And then the affiliates then were getting 50% of the profits, and you also changed it. So what did you go through to do all those changes?
Well, without diving into a lot of the accomplishments, but I want to, I like the word challenges. There are so many. That's why, I like what is going on today. When I come in now and I see how things are flowing, when I see the level of success that we've attained and the progressive nature of things, I thank God that some of us paved the way and paid the sacrifices needed. What are the challenges? When we first came in, I already have enumerated about the challenges with the board. So one of the first things we did was we have to now help nurture in a new board of directors with a different mindset and let them know you are the fathers, but then you are not, you are just advisors. We'll consult you, we'll work with you. When we work together, things will work best. You must work with us. We shouldn't be working as adversaries, because now the Constitution does not give you the power to do that, but rather you are the fathers of the organization. Try to find and work with us, give us advice, and then understanding that it's not every advice that you give us that we're going to take. The ones that make sense, we will go ahead, and the ones that don't, don't stop advising, please. So we're able to, and the first challenge was, getting a very calmer, gentle board leadership under the leadership of Chief Emejuru as the chair, the board chairman, Chief Beke as the secretary, the late Teodoro as the parliamentarian. So those gentlemen, when we met with them and they understood their role, that challenge coming from the board, that internal problem we have got subsided. Then the other challenge also we faced was the risk associated with conventions. I watch us go to conventions in any kind of little hotel. When we finish, then we're driving back and forth, bustling, moving people back and forth. People are driving in their own vehicles, drunk and all of that. Then I'm a corporate guy. I run companies, and I know, and I also know ORA USA, being a corporate entity, there are some liabilities here. So I had to think of what we gotta do to mitigate, liabilities. And I'm a problem solver. Everywhere I go, I cherish challenges. What people call problem, I call it a challenge, and my blood runs. I love to solve them. So when I came in, I identified all the issues, challenges. I said, okay, let's level them out. We took care of the board. Then we said, okay, we have emerged to a point now where we need to do a one-stop shopping, a one-stop thing where we do it in a hotel. And we started that in New York convention. I started preaching that when we went to Dallas. My last year of a VP as my OCOC, we did that in the Dallas convention. Then we did it in New York. It was still a work in progress, but after New York, we perfected it, and the rest became history. Then we took care of that being in one place, hotels, the hotel issue. Then we came about again. We realized that, hey, I have assumed an organization that's supposed to be a nonprofit, but there's no 501c3. I said, ooh, how do we go about that? So that was another big challenge. We went in, we dug in, and thank God, what's his name? Stanley Dike, who's a financial guy. I think he was a committee member of something of sort. Then we brought him in. He helped us, to pursue our 501c3. We were a nonprofit, but we didn't have a 501c3 status. So we did everything we had to do. We got that. So we're trying to say, okay, this machine, this building, the foundation's got to be right for us to begin to rise up. So we took care of the 501c3 issue. Then the next thing we know is, okay, we're seeing a convention where although people in the US everywhere, there are a lot of them. When we converge and if we have a good market, they will come. But then they can be coming, and then when they come, they raise money. We do 50-50. I didn't like the idea of the 50-50. I didn't think we can grow Aura with that 50-50 venture. And when I mentioned it, it was a taboo. You can't say that. I said, okay, don't worry, I will say it. Not only saying it, I will do it. So we have to look at a situation where we have so many at that time, I don't know, maybe 12 affiliates or so. So if your brothers, if your brothers, your people, they come to visit you, you get to host them once every 10 years or every whatever. So you mean you can make sacrifice to host them, and then take a little bit and let them use your space to raise money for our cause? Why must it be 50-50? So those were the arguments that we were really looking at. So I thought about it as, okay, I know what the constitutional mandates were. So we made the 90-day constitutional amendment, but they didn't know what's in the proposal. So then during the 90-day process, we shoot that out. So, but they didn't know how it's going to go. It wasn't the usual constitutional amendment. So being a business person, somebody that also very aligned to ITs and all of that, that's when I started this PowerPoint that we're enjoying today in Aura. My first business, our first convention was in New York. The first agenda that Saturday morning, constitutional amendment, because if we don't make it, if I don't get that mandate, it's a waste of 4 years or 2 years of my time, because I know. Then how do we sell it? We came in, we told the affiliates. And before then, which I'll talk to you about later, we've already established many committees. We've already had a very vigorous, aggressive vision for where Aura is going. We're talking about Aura convention where we spend, we have a budget. Most cases we do 10,000. We have a budget of 3,500. At the end of the day, affiliate, if we do good, affiliate get 1,500 of their 50-50. So that's when I came to the affiliate. I said, what I still have that PowerPoint presentation. I can find it. I said, I see an aura that when we come to a convention, we'll be talking about revenues, 75,000, 100,000. And we're talking about, now Aura has projects. Let's designate 50% of those revenues, profits, to other projects. Then the other 25% to ORA administration, to run the administration of ORA. And then the other 25% to the delegate and to the affiliate, the host affiliate. I said, that's enough. So that way, when we come here, people will put in more money, knowing that 50% of it is going for ORA projects, because that's what we're here for. So it was a tough sell, but we kept selling the idea, pushing it to the point eventually. We also try to explain to them. And my analogy then was, would you rather be a 50% owner of a business that's worth 10,000? Or would you rather be a 25% owner of a business that's worth $1 million? So that was the analogy we used to sell, because ORA is about to grow and the profits is going to be bigger. And 25% is going to be bigger than, way bigger than what you're going to be getting on this low level 50% scale that we're in. So we went in. Unfortunately, because of the politics that was going on then, that's when ORA was really very, very politicized. We had, you know, and you know how our voting starts. When we start our voting, we start alphabetical: Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Baltimore, all of that kind of stuff, alphabetically. So it was scary because the first affiliate we called them was Atlanta. Atlanta said no. But before even this, we took a break and have every affiliate and their delegates and their members deliberate. And I told them, I'm not moving forward with this convention until we make that decision. So we took over an hour break. They're dilly-dallying back and forth. We came back for voting. Atlanta voted no. Then was okay, let's go to the next one. Austin voted yes. Everybody started voting yes. That's how we secure this thing today. And I have to say this. I was touched from this last convention that was held in Baltimore. I was looking at the revenue from the HOD meeting, where the revenue was $260,000. I was like, oh my God, these guys have gone far beyond my, my dreams and the goals that I had. But that is all good. So these were some of the challenges that we, that we met. And then the biggest challenge also I had somehow on my second time in office was what we call ihe shinulo. We are a very performing president. I mean, it's not even a situation of that lizard that fell from Iroko tree and look around and nobody was praising him. You say, you know what? If nobody praises me, you know what? I'm gonna praise myself. It wasn't even that situation. I knew it. You knew it. Everybody knew that this is a different president and he's performing very well. But then my local affiliates, that wasn't going well with them. So that Iheshinola came about. And they were about to truncate the success of ORA. They were about to truncate the progress of ORA. They were about to, shut everything down. But thank God, despite all the mago and everything that went in, the good people of ORA USA, they made, they used their good judgment and did what was the right thing, and that decision they made today. But then, it wasn't just ORA making a decision. ORA also is an organization. Our constitution is very well conceived. Our constitution has been tested in the courts of the United States, okay? And it has been tested several times, and the judges were like, who are the people that conceive this constitution? They know what they're doing. I mean, it is there. For the first time, you see, I'm a guy where I say, use me, or I use me right on my back to make sure we achieve whatever we needed to. And we did that. It was during my tenure that people realized that ORA has a Supreme Court. People didn't know that. ORA has a Supreme Court. that once that Supreme Court speaks, it's over, it's final. It's in our Constitution. And that's what they call DRC, Dispute Resolution Committee. But it is it's also who are involved. People don't even understand how that works. I was a party to writing the Constitution, so I know the Constitution of ORA. And that's why I advise anybody that want to lead any organization, first understand the Constitution. I know ORA Constitution front and back. And I knew that I knew my rights were being protected at DRC as an executive of ORA, and then also executive, and then as our ORA affiliate. Our rights are protected, not just as individual, but executives and their affiliate themselves. So we went through the DRC. DRC also determined that the issue with Ezinwanne has no merits. They have no standing to stop my re-election. So DRC made a declaration and put me in the ballot when Ezinwanne said they don't want me to be on the ballot, and they have no reason. And then the only reason that they could ever use is indebtedness, but I was not indebted, not to ORA, not to Ezinwanne. And DRC went through all of that and determined that, yep, he should be on the ballot. They placed me on the ballot. Then the Ezinwanne group, the Palolo factor again, was not enough. You asked me about challenges. That was a huge challenge that almost, deflected everything we were trying to do. When that decision didn't go well with them, they went to court on the week of the convention coming to Washington, D.C., to put an injunction so that I will not stand as a candidate of election representing them. We went to court, they filed a lawsuit. I came back, and we just came back from swearing in, May swearing in, May 29 event for Rogers' first administration. So one went. Came back, trying to carry my bag, pack my bag to go to Washington, D.C. Nope, I had to answer to the court. I went to court with them. And then it was at the courts. The judges then went through the whole thing and said, what is this about? They said, then they talked, the judge looked at the DRC, and the judge said, this is very interesting. This organization realizes that dispute may arise, and they put things in place to resolve those disputes when it does arise. The judge said, I'm very, very impressed. Then the people from Ezinwanne, they said, oh, but he put his people there. He put all his friends there in the DRC. The judge said, you know what? Why don't you run for office? Win the office, put your people in the DRC. So the judge then at that point put his gavel down and said, this is a frivolous lawsuit. He asked my lawyer, how much did this guy pay you to, for you to come and defend him? Then at that point, he gave those guys, he gave them 3 days to pay that amount to this lawyer. So these are the challenges. Talk about challenges we went through. Then, after we left the court, the day before we reached, on Thursday evening again, before the House of Delegates get together, Ezinwanne sends an email again to ORA and saying, we are not coming to the convention, therefore we have no delegates and we have no candidates. You see the interesting part of that? Then the ORA House of Delegates at the convention in Washington, D.C. say, you know what? Yes, whereas Ezinwanne is not here, we have a candidate that's been duly certified and on the ballot, and the show goes on. So people don't know these histories, but they are very interesting. Some of us have suffered for this, just to fight to get order where it is. So there are many challenges, but I think I want to stop this far so that you guys can ask your other questions here.
Thank you, Mr. President. See, that's one of the reasons for this documentary, so that this history will be documented for posterity, those who didn't know what happened can go back and watch it and say, oh, is that what happened? Thank you again.
Thank you.
Mazi Austin, do you have any follow-up or any question? Are you there? We can't hear you, Mazi Austin.
Yes, I didn't realize I was on mute. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
I said I was going to just do a follow-up, so to say. Thank you, my patron, for being so lucid and having such a sharp memory to recollect all that transpired. In fact, you are like a living library of ORAUSA. We appreciate your being here to share your wealth of knowledge on ORAUSA history. But while speaking, something occurred to me and I want you to address it. You were speaking about what transpired during the election in Dallas. Then you spoke about what transpired during your re-election and all that. It appears to me, and of course, you mentioned Atlanta in one of the things you said. Whereas it looks to me that whereas ORAUSA is affiliate-based in its membership, but it appears that most of the issues, challenges, as it were, that we've been having seem to be coming from this concept of affiliates being almost untouchable, to the extent that some affiliates even equate themselves to the national. I do recollect you are not alone. When Ebedike was running as president, his own affiliate, Atlanta, almost truncated the Atlanta convention because of the same, what do you call it? You call it Iroshinulo, something like that.
Opalolo.
Yes.
Opalolo syndrome.
Yes. And I do remember at some point, if not because of a lot of progress that's been made in ORA, even our incumbent president would have had issues with his then affiliate president, Okechukwu Obo. So I'm wondering, would you, do you think ORAUSA should be curtailing the powers of the affiliates, or you think the affiliates should just be the way they are?
I will not oppose. I have no business in curtailing the powers of the affiliates. The concept of what we put together is a great one. We are an affiliate-based organization. The affiliate is the bloodline of the organization. However, affiliate also, despite or no matter how big an affiliate may feel they are, they still need to understand the structure. And that's where the confusion is. And the ORA administration needs to do a better job. And it's a continuous type of work to make sure they are in good communication with the leaders, various leaders of the affiliates, to making sure that the things that are happening at the national level are being brought back home to their local level. Because that's where the confusion, either you have a confusion where a leader, a representative of affiliates at the national level, they are not taking the messages back home to their people. They're not carrying the affiliate members along with what's going on in the national. That's one. The other one too is sometimes these affiliate representatives also, sometimes there is a little bad blood between them and the current leaders of their affiliates. So, and that also affects the relationship of ORA and the affiliates. Other than that, I think the system, the way it's designed, is working well. Nonetheless, there has been, ORA also has some affiliates that has some very huge numeric strengths. That it is times like convention that would like them to really showcase that strength, not to benefit them, but to benefit the national organization on which they belong. And lately, we are beginning to see that strength, emerge. We saw Houston, Mini was able to showcase that they're a big affiliate. And Baltimore just did that. Unfortunately, when it was Atlanta's turn, and that was when they also were, when they were at the seat of government, that opportunity eluded them and they misused it because of this Balolo or Yeshinolo syndrome. So I think that's more, it's a personal thing than of ORA and affiliate. It's more of the individual. The individuals are both ends. The representatives of the local affiliates need to do a better job, not just relating with the national, but making sure information is disseminated down to their members and they're carrying them along. And they're giving them exciting information for continuous engagement. But oftentimes, in the information that goes down, it depends on the level of information. If a representative is just only sending negative information, we are disconnected. Those affiliate members are being disconnected, and now they come up with a very bad impression of other persons. But the national also need to find a way to make sure they go beyond the representatives of the affiliates to checkmate, to validate, to make sure that those informations are getting down to where they need to be.
Thank you.
So that's what I would say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's look at the achievements of your administration in terms of projects. Which projects did you start or complete that stand out in your memory, the first and second term?
I believe I did a lot, and I started a lot of foundations, built a lot of foundations for a lot of stuff that are still going and will continue to go on in ORA USA. First of all, when I came into ORA, my administration, we only inherited maybe three standing committees. But through the vision that I had, I expanded the committees. I expanded, I added more than 10 new committees, up to 12 committees. And all those committees are here now today. One of the committees that also we put together, we inherited the Imjiaba Creation Committee. That was an existing ad hoc committee, but we perfected it to a point where, and that was the time when we thought the new state creation was attainable. And they made us to believe it was attainable. And being a vibrant organization, we did we did the best we could to support such. And that's how we ventured into our first project, where we bought a van and gave for the cost. Okay, we moved on again. To be relevant at home also, because we wanted to be a pressure group, but we didn't want to be a pressure group that just sit there and keep on throwing blames. We want to work with them, show our relevance, and then as we more asking, the closer we get to them, the more we'll be able to work with them and be able to talk to them for changes that we believe will be best for the communities. So we embanked on ICT Center also project. I conceived that before before I came into office, there was this big elephant project called the auditorium project that ORA USA could not afford. The drawing is as big as this. The amount of money we're talking about, we couldn't do it. So when I came in, I said, you know what? Instead of us sitting here trying to do monumental projects, let's go to the IMSUT and find out what they need. I went to IMSUT. I met the then administrator there. Another friend of mine who works there. I said, "Well, we're trying to do something in this campus. What would be the most needs?" Then that's when they say ITC Center. The students need a place to go. So we conceived that project. We built it. I couldn't finish it before I left, and I'm so glad my predecessors, Sir Fidelis Ezewike administration, he finished it where I stopped, and I thank him for that. And that's the difference between what we do as civilized people compared to the way the country is being run. Governments after government, they don't believe in continuity. Nobody want to pick up any project that his predecessors or people before them, unfinished projects. If you start, if you don't finish it, that project is gone. But I'm glad that we're able to lead here by example. In ORAUSA, I started a project, then Sir Fidelis administration came in and he finished it. We also talk about projects. When I came into office also, there was a Reverend Father Nonom, that was very close to my administration, my first term. And he was very excited to see what he can do to help. Then he was the one that approached me that he's working with some groups that do medical mission. How come we can do that? So I told him I like that idea. And at the time, we were working on, that time I had Sir Chris Onwuzurike. He was the chairman of ORA Projects, which is the ICT center. So, but then when medical mission came, I said, you know what? This is a project. I can't just, make it a medical thing. So I want to put it under your leadership, under your committee. So I funneled the medical mission through him, through that committee. So, and thank God he did a very good job along with our brother, late Chief Dr. Onwuzurike. All these people, selfless, a lot of time in making sure that that program survived, along with our current president now, Dr. Nebu, and many others that came after. So we did that. Even when I talked about the ICT Center, I must not fail to give credit to people very close to me that worked along. Sir Bezim was very, very, instrumental. Chief Akaraka Gibson Chibu was also very involved. They brought in their technical knowledge, helping us with Anyam to make this in a dream, come true. So the medical mission is a big project that I envisioned. I started that. Projects, we're talking about convention. We made all our convention, we changed the landscape and the mindset of what our conventions originally was supposed to be. When we started these conventions, we used to arrive on Fridays. And then Sundays, everybody is vamoose, we're gone. It is during my administration, again, we started to expand the convention. First, we started expanding from Tuesday and Wednesday. Then now I can see the convention now taking off from Tuesday, Wednesday. People are coming. But before, we all used to arrive on Fridays. Some people even arrive on Saturday morning. So is that a project? It's an accomplishment. And it's a standard, a gold standard that we put out there, that is still out there, up and going. We started the youth program. We started the youth program to where we started to come to convention. We started to find things that our children can do. I had to get them involved. We also started the women program. I started up when I brought in Chief Mrs. Akoechama to help me with that program. We built the women program. We got the women uniform. We developed the microfinance program to where we're helping widow women and some disadvantaged other women back home. And it was more of we did all of those. And those were relevant projects. Before then, before I came to office, we've had one summit under Chief Emeka Iwunze's administration. But when I came in, I expanded the summit to where now we're getting more involved with other people. The ORAUSA youths, we have them to get involved in our summit. I think it was our summit when our brother Owele, running for governor, came, addressed us. There was a lot of stuff we did. And basically, we were trying to, it was an opportunity for us. The summit mindset is a think tank session to where those of us from diaspora, we come home, we meet with the home-based people at Auntie. We discuss and forge ahead, way forward on things to do for our Lolo. Unfortunately, that program did not really take off as it's supposed to, because we come, then the people at home, they don't come. I understood there was a time issues with that. It's a busy time for them to do other things, so they kind of relegated that to, to a lower level. So there were other things we did. I remember when Hakim was the governor. You know how the distribution of local governments. Olo has 12. Okigwe has 6. And the other people, Owore has 9. So what did this guy do? Hakim came in, he took 3 from Olu and to put it into Okigwe. He took Wangele, Idato, North and South. So we fought against those. Under my administration, we get science in Nigeria involved. We get legal people involved. We fought against that delineation, until when he saw we put ad, newspaper ads and all of that to fight against this. So those were things my administration did. And there are numerous other things that if I sit here to tell you things we did, we were a very busy administration, very busy. We're busy getting things done, and they're repositioning us to become the premier, laying these foundations that will enable us to become the premier organization that we are today. So that much is what I can share with you. One more thing I want to say about the brochure. When we, I also changed the way we approach ORAUSA brochures. Despite the fact that we are making a lot of money in the bidding of special pages. When I came into office, I was told, and it was understood that brochure, any Nwolo who is a printer must do the brochure for us. And that got abused. And the prices got so exorbitant. When I came in as the president, I said, I don't care about that. We're a business entity. We are a business entity. However, we're non-profit, but we are a corporate entity. And we have to do things accordingly. We started to bid these things out. We started to bid things out. And all of a sudden, we saw a huge reduction and a great savings in the brochure production, and the brochure became very, very profitable for us. So that's really the most, let me stop there so far now. That's the much I can share with you. The compliments are numerous, and I can continue from now till tomorrow to sing them for you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mazi Austin, do you have any question or follow-up? Are you muted?
You are muted. Sorry.
Yeah. Mr. President, I want to say indeed you are a visionary, and your administration was a landmark in the history of ORAUSA. Many of your projects and your legacies do endure. ORAUSA still benefit from them. I think ORAUSA has been particularly fortunate with its leadership. We've been very fortunate having visionaries as leaders, men that are committed to that vision, yes, which is always evidenced in your attendance in all our conventions. We notice all our past presidents attend all our conventions, and that speaks volume. We appreciate your contributions, all you've done, and still doing, because I know you're still very much active in ORAUSA. You've been indeed an inspiration. I do not know if I will be let me leave it at this. Maybe the chairman of the committee would ask more fresh questions. Mr. Chairman, that's my comments on that.
Well, I know I see he's on the phone, but I'm looking behind the scene and I'm seeing aura flash.
Yes.
Oh boy, that's what I told you guys. If I begin
I was going to ask, how did it start? Who started aura flash?
Charles will tell you. He knew. It was my first editor that I brought in. Aura flash. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. How could you have omitted it until now? Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Yes, Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Okay, Mr. President, I recall Aura Newsflash was your brainchild.
And he just said so now.
Yeah, it's growing stronger and stronger. My other question is the conventions you organize. We mentioned something about conventions and how you grew them from where you found them to where they are now, or when you left office. I was in that 2011 convention in Washington, D.C., where I became the Assistant National Secretary. And the one in 2012 in Pennsylvania, as Philadelphia, and 2013 in Miami, where you handed over. Is there any other, apart from the incident of 2009, is there any other remarkable thing about the conventions you organized? Were you happy the way they turned out?
Well, I can tell you.
Especially before you answer, how we grew from a 2-day convention to 5 days convention.
Yes. I think the growth, it started a little bit from New York in 2010. That's when we started having official programs before Friday. Before it used to be on Friday, the convention get kicked off on Fridays. But I wanted to, share with you my involvement also. Prior to now, I was involved in 2006 in Detroit Convention as also involved in Boston Convention 2007 as a VP, Baltimore 2008 as a VP, Dallas as a VP. I became president in that convention. And then 2010 in New York was my first convention. Then we went to Washington 2011, Philadelphia 2012, then Miami 2013, when I handed over the power to Dennis Ezerike. So I can't say there was sense of interest, but it was more of it was when we started to experience the gradual growth, how the convention started to expand from Friday to Thursday to Wednesday, and now it's on Tuesdays for some people. So I believe it was from that, we started to expand activities of the convention, table tennis and different things started happening, where the late Dr. Ernest Ndikwe, my good friend, was involved in organizing the sporting activities that took place. Was on Fridays, then we moved it as the day they spent, we moved it back. So we really have experienced a lot, but all these experiences are pretty much progressive, very growth oriented.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's talk about the election of your successor. It was just like your own election was tough. I was there. I was also there when your successor was elected. Wasn't as contentious as your own, but it was equally one of the elections that tested ORAUSA resilience. So how did you see your successor was elected? And any lesson for ORAUSA from that election?
Yes, it was another intriguing, a very exciting election period. But by and large, I want to tell you something about ORAUSA elections. For those of us who are very, into it, when you go into these ORA elections, your goal is not to, not to have a landslide. Because landslide doesn't augur well for the organization. We want to make it interesting. And remember, all you want is, that's really our mantra, 50 plus 1. 50 plus 1, then you win. So what made the ORA that election year very interesting was some of the things some individuals wanted to do. We as an organization, we've already have some systems built in place. And we also have a constitution that we are running. In that constitution, we also have things in that constitution. In that constitution, really, ORAUSA constitution is designed in a transitional way. Built in a transitional way to the point that where the vice president, the assistant secretary, those two individuals, those two positions, they do the heaviest lifting in the organization. And the constitution, knowingly or unknowingly, is a transitional one and is built that way to put those people, on a test, to whereby if they successfully do their job as a VP, you shouldn't have a problem becoming our president. You successfully do your job as an assistant secretary, you will not have a problem being the assistant secretary. And what makes the job heavy is the way we run the organization. Okay, you're a secretary, you are expected to write a lot of meeting minutes. But ORA General Secretary probably writes, don't even write up to 7, don't even write no more than 6 or 5 meeting minutes in a year as a General Secretary, because he writes the one for the House of Delegates and then the convention. But then here comes this assistant secretary, who is also attached to OCOC. And our OCOC starts earlier on, and the OCOC is where the affiliates, the hosting affiliates, and the ones that will come after, they all get involved. The assistant secretary gets to write these minutes. Every other week or every week they hold their meetings for so many months. So at that point, he or she is being tested. There's a lot of heavy lifting there. The same thing with the VP running the OCOC, being in charge in the affiliate drive. The VP is given so many opportunities to succeed or fail. So knowing that premise, as the outgoing president, I looked into my executives and I talked to all of them and said, okay, election will be coming. Who wants to be what? Who's interested in continuing and at what capacity? So we had those conversations. Fidelis, showed interest as he already served very well as a VP, and he showed interest to continue into the next. You know, when you do well, you get promoted. So apparently, I talked to other members. Lady Augusta was one of the people on my team. She was the chair lady of our Injaba State Creation, a very powerful committee, very active then, you know, one of the very, you know, high visibility committees then, based on what was going on. So she came to me. She said she would like to run for VP. Then I said, no, you can't. This is the reasons why. And I told her my promise. I want to make you the first woman president of ORA USA. You know, this is what you need to do. Don't run for president, run for VP. You have my ultimate support. You make a good VP, and that gives the women opportunity to be, you know, to ascend to that office the fastest. We agreed, and everything was well. And then I talked to other members of the committee, the executives who expressed different positions. Then later on, Lady Augusta came back to me and said, you know what, Mr. President, I've thought about it. I don't think I want to run for VP. I'd rather run for the president. I said, wow. So I said, so what do you expect me to do now? My allegiance and my support is with my VP, who served well and I believe is capable of doing the job. You know, you will not get my support if that's what you want to do. And it's gonna, you know, we talked about it. She said she understands, but she's gonna continue. So that's what made the election. I think that singular decision made the election very, very interesting. So, and then at the time too, we had a little, you know, misunderstanding in the president's group, former president's group, a situation where Emeka, whom I was his vice president, during his time, and he went to Chibu and he was asked, who do you want to be the vice? And he said he will support Chris Onwuzurike. And everybody flagged behind Emeka and the administration. And it was my turn. They asked me, Emeka and Chibu and everybody in Akaraka, they asked me who? I said, my choice is my VP. Then that's where the problem started. Emeka said, no, he will not agree. I said, why wouldn't you agree? When it was your turn, you said who you want and everybody flagged around you. Why now? Why wouldn't you come flag around me? Why we want to bring this division? So, and that's what started the whole process. Emeka took out on his own and said he singularly will make Lady Augusta the president of ORA USA. He tried, but don't forget what I told you about our formula, our winning formula, 50 plus 1. So the rest was history. So that's what happened.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's one thing you forgot to mention, which I was there too.
What?
There was some groups that came out and they challenged your support for your VP then, and they labeled it body. Remember, we like to talk about the body syndrome. Is it the cabal?
It's body, it's cabal, it's call it whatever. They were throwing every more there is.
Yeah, I also know that those people they are calling body and cabal are the stakeholders that have sustained ORA USA so far at that point. So tell us how you felt when your efforts were being characterized as nepotism or something that was casting a negative light.
The thing is, some of us, we love ORA with passion. Until we take our last breath, we're going to be ORA. And that's how it's been. So before after and during. We're going to be continuing to do that. So being an ORA stakeholder, being an ORA insider, there's a lot involved. The intrigues, the politics, and the involvement is a 24/7. It's a year-round. You just don't come out, and there's an election, you come out, you want to get involved. You know, as I speak to you, I'm not bragging. Myself and some of us that have been labeled cabal and whatever, we have the DNA of ORA USA members. We know who is who. We've done our homework and we've been involved. We are in it and we continue to stay in it. We know who is involved. We know what they are worth. We know their weaknesses. We know their strengths. So when certain individual comes out, they want to hijack the organization. And we know individuals in ORA whose interests are, hey, guys, I'm here, use me. What can I do to help? And there's another individual, another group that say, hey, guys, I'm here. Get out of the way. I want to see what ORA can do for me. You see, them are the people we have problem with. And those are the individuals that throw in the mud because they're trying to kick us aside so that they have seen some little progress that ORA have made. They want to stifle it and they want to, hold siege of that. And we weren't going to let them because we have not finished building. We are still, we're still at the growing stage. And being at the growing stage, we need all hands on deck. Clean hands, honest hands on deck. Hands that are saying, this hand is a hand of helping. We want to help ORA grow. Not coming in here saying, let ORA help me. ORA is about time ORA help me. What can ORA do for me? That's really the differentiator of all of that. So we fought against those. Where I wasn't mad. It was more like, okay, we know these characters and we know what they're trying to do. We will not let them succeed. I will not let evil will not succeed. And they didn't. So that's what the war was all about.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mazi Opon, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for ORA USA patron. My patron, I do remember that, of course, I was in Miami at that election, and not only was your vice being challenged for the position of the president, I do know even my chairman in this news flash had somebody run against him as Assistant National Secretary, even though he was the incumbent. The thing was already spreading like wildfire. But fortunately, it seemed to have died down. Because not altogether, because not too long ago, somebody close to me had approached me for support and guidance to run for ORA USA president. I said, I'm not going to vote for you, even though you are very close to me. If you want to be president, you go and be vice president first. And like you did observe a moment ago, you said that the assistant national secretary is like a learning process. He or she is at the OCOC meeting, taking minutes every week or every other week, as the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the vice president. So I'm going to ask you then, would you, based with the benefit of hindsight, recommend a constitution amendment that would require anybody wanting to be the president to first serve as the vice president? Of course, the implication of that is that there would hardly be any formal election to be the president. It would become a smooth transition, a natural transition. We don't want to make that recommendation, not just for the vice president, or he had to become president, but all these assistants who tend to serve at least 4 years before becoming the substantive office holders like the assistant secretary, the financial assistant financial secretary, would you want to make that recommendation? Are you still comfortable with this possibility that from time to time this issue may come up and then we may have to go through what we went through in the past?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
I'm comfortable with what we have, because in what we have, and I know it's very salient, very quiet, very silent transition. It's not obvious. Anybody can wake up any day now and declare for presidency of ORA. And then it all depends on the electorates and and depend on what is going on at the time. The risk, there's a risk with that. And then to mitigate that risk, I will not oppose such constitutional amendment, but however, I am more interested in making sure that all eyes and energies are in the election of the vice president of the organization, the election of the assistant secretary of the organization. That almost created a problem, because if we overlook that election and we put the wrong person to become the vice, that's where this other scenario will come. Tomorrow now, damn, we made a mistake. We didn't know how he became a VP. Now he thinks the constitution, the transitional inbuilt stuff now will favor him. And that's when another person from nowhere will say, instead of that person becoming the, I'm more flamboyant, I am this, I am that, I should be the president. So I think I want us to focus our energies more in screening for VPs, because don't let anyone get into that position of a VP whom tomorrow you will not support for president. And that's my own thing. I belong to many organizations. I belong to the Rotary Club. And then I know we have our presidents lined up. We know who the next two presidents are going to be in our Rotary Club. So, and then they'll be in training waiting. So if you want to throw that line, I will support it. So that's just my own response to it, yes. But I'm really totally opposed to somebody coming in for whatever reason, because the VP now is fake. The VP now has been determined incapable of really doing the president job. Therefore, let this guy be the president. And that's going to be the beginning and the end of what we're enjoying. Because ndị Igbo na-asị onye na-anụ ebe eziri mmadụ na-eshi na gịnị ọ na-eshi n'ụkwụ abụọ.
Yes.
So that's where we are.
Okay.
That's a tough one. Either way.
It's tough.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. President, we are getting close to the end of this interview. But before we go, I want to ask you to look into the future of ORA USA. What do you see, and how do you, what do you have to tell our current and future leaders of ORA USA on how to preserve this association for our children and our grandchildren or future generation that are not even here yet? What should they be doing now to focus ORA USA to be even greater than it is right now?
If I'm looking into that thing that you asked me to look into.
Yeah, I was wondering whether you have a crystal ball.
I do. I can gaze at it. I see in the next 12 years, I see our children that are born here. I see an executive made up of all our children that are born here, running ORA USA. I see ORA USA becoming more, not just of a local, of our relationship. I see ORA USA getting, being one of the premier non-profit organizations in the United States, not just the little things we're doing in Nigeria, but now being more relevant here because of the involvement of these our children who are now going to be at the helm of leadership, I'll say by the next 10, 12 years. And I see a better, bigger ORAUSA.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I share your optimism, and I say amen to that.
Amen.
So far, do you have any closing statement or question before we round up?
I don't have a question except to thank specially our guests in this edition, Akanchawa of Ekitiafo, Abba. Indeed, you have lived up to your billing. We appreciate the what you've done. You've actually taken us down the memory lane and opened to us your fountain of knowledge. A whole lot we didn't know about the humble beginning of ORAUSA. We have learned them today. And I'm sure our viewers have been thrilled. It's been worth our while. Thank you, my patron. And I do hope that when next we call on you, you'll be kind enough to honor our invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, Charles, and thank you both for the job you've done. I'm just so very excited to see ORAFlash doing this type of documentary. I'm happy to be here again whenever you need me. Again, like I said, ORA now is me and I'm ORA. So till the last day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for answering our call and being here in person to talk to us and to preserve this history of ORAUSA. No other person could have told us what you shared with us today.
Sure.
We are happy to have you, and we pray that God will continue to keep you so that you will continue to do what you have been doing for our community, both here in Nigeria and all over the world. In conclusion, I mustn't fail to recall that during your service to ORAUSA, you lost your son in 2014, for which we pray that his soul will continue to rest in peace, and that God will give you the grace to continue to bear that loss, which I know you have done very well to cope with that loss. So we thank our viewers and we thank all our members of ORAUSA who will watch this video, and we thank you all for watching. May God bless all of us. Thank you.
Amen.
Bless you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.